And to be quite honest with you, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted with Sue Bird.
After the current decline in viewership and lack of interest in the WNBA, Sue Bird has come full circle when discussing Caitlin Clark.
This is what we want. Instead, we're still getting bullshit on viewership numbers.
Since Steven had supported Caitlin Clark throughout the season and wasn't going to stop now, things got quite tasty between the two. Steph A wasn't going to sit there and watch Caitlin Clark be vilified.
What do you mean ESPN? So because I work at my day job on ESPN, I'm supposed to ignore the facts?
Sue Bird didn't like Steven pointing up the facts that viewership is declining and that no one is particularly interested in seeing the WNBA finals.
And Stephen A. Smith talk about it. I've seen Shannon Sharp talk about it. And that's what I just don't understand is they work for ESPN. So why are you hating on a product that ESPN
that they invest in?
Yeah, that's where these viewership numbers are coming. Yeah, it's a business you're in. It's not that they can't. And by the way, it's not that they can't be critical of certain things. They can have their opinions. But that's where I don't understand the framing.
Even though Steven is employed by ESPN, he nevertheless expresses his genuine thoughts about current events. The WNBA has been having trouble keeping the same numbers without Caitlin, who is a tremendous draw. Sue Bird thinks that although if stadiums are still packed and audiences are still attending, viewers are still watching since ticket prices have drastically decreased.
See tickets at the Target Center in Minnesota selling for as low as $10.
$25 a playoff game ticket is absurd, but do we really believe that Caitlin would be selling tickets at the same price if she were a WNBA player? Clearly not.
Sharp starts to talk about the attendance and says, like, basically that Caitlin had the highest attendance in the playoffs, which Caitlin Clark played her first 2 rounds in Connecticut, which only holds roughly 10,000, and they got swept, so they never made it back to Cambridge in Indiana to play a home game. So they absolutely did not have the highest.
One of the most revered figures in women's basketball and a WNBA legend, Sue Bird, recently found herself at the center of an unexpected and intense controversy. It started when Bird allegedly blamed Caitlin Clark for the recent decline in WNBA playoff ratings and ticket sales. Many were surprised by Bird's remarks because Clark's influence on the sport has received high accolades for garnering a lot of attention.
There is a Caitlin Clark effect on all of basketball, and especially on women's basketball ratings. Kudos to her. She has elevated an entire sport in viewership.
Bird, a longtime supporter of the WNBA's expansion and resiliency, felt that Smith's comments unfairly painted the league in a negative light and undermined the players' combined efforts and the league's growth over the years. Bird was quick to refute this narrative, determined to preserve the WNBA's reputation and assert that it could thrive. Beyond just one player, Steven wasn't the only source of Sue Bird's annoyance. She also attacked Shannon Sharp, who had similarly emphasized the enormous attention Caitlin Clark had brought to women's basketball. Both Smith and Sharp had been vocal in their praise of Clark, repeatedly recognizing her as a major factor in the increase in viewership and interest in the sport, but Bird felt that this focus on Clark was undermining the WNBA's larger initiatives. Bird, a long-standing supporter of women's basketball, was determined that the league's expansion shouldn't be dependent on a single player since she thought that teamwork rather than individual star power would be more effective.
Stephen A. and with Shannon, there's an aspect of them like defending their stances on her. Like, we were right about Caitlin and this is our defense. And I still think there's something twisted there because nobody ever said that Caitlin wasn't going to be a marketing gem, a unicorn.
However, it is difficult to disregard the situation's reality. Caitlin Clark's outstanding college basketball performances garnered unheard of attention, and many believed that this momentum would easily translate to the WNBA playoffs sans Clark. The WNBA quickly found itself in a challenging situation, trying to figure out how to replace the vacuum created by her absence and maintain the same level of interest. The league had a tremendous problem in maintaining the excitement and fan engagement she had produced.
But if you guys take a look at the stands, all the seats, even the courtside seats, are empty.
One of the ways the WNBA dealt with a decline in interest was by lowering ticket prices for playoff games. Fans quickly noticed that without Caitlin Clark's presence, ticket prices dropped significantly, a clear indication that the league was making an effort to fill seats. On the surface, it appeared that the WNBA was successfully selling out games and maintaining strong attendance, but the reality was more complicated. The decision to lower ticket prices was a deliberate strategy to avoid the embarrassment of empty arenas.
Been to the Liberty Games. They're full. It looks full in Vegas. It looks full every single place that you go. TD Garden sold out when Caitlin wasn't playing there for a regular season.
It's very possible that the arenas would have been far less packed if the WNBA had maintained ticket prices at the same level as during Caitlin Clark's season. The WNBA has had difficulty generating the same level of fan interest without the buzz and excitement that Clark consistently brought to the game, but the league was able to fill seats and maintain the appearance of strong attendance. But this strategy only worked in the short term. When Caitlin Clark first came onto the scene, Sue Bird was among the first to recognize her enormous potential to transform women's basketball. This shift in perspective suggests that Bird is more concerned with safeguarding the league's long-term image, which makes her recent remarks all the more surprising.
Nonsense about things that Caitlin was doing wrong when, in my personal opinion, she was doing nothing but going out there and playing great basketball every night and ignoring the hate that was coming to her from all sides, not only from fans.
It's now evident that Caitlin Clark's ability to garner a lot of attention for women's basketball has made her both a hero and, in some circles, a target. This is a common occurrence for athletes who become famous quickly. They frequently face criticism from rivals as well as occasionally from people in their own industry for every fan who applauds Clark's quick rise to fame. Some see her accomplishment as a challenge to the status quo. Another WNBA legend, Cheryl Swoops, has also voiced conflicting opinions regarding Clark's influence.
Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now immediately? Absolutely not.
Although the WNBA has made great progress in recent years in expanding its fan base and visibility, it still faces significant challenges in attracting widespread attention and consistent support. Without players like Caitlin Clark, the league struggles to maintain the same level of interest and excitement in not just hardcore basketball fans but also casual viewers, capturing a broader audience that the league has long sought. Viewers who might not often watch women's basketball were drawn to Caitlin Clark because she was a rare phenomenon and an athlete whose skill and charisma went beyond the sport.
Made people stick around and want to watch the others. A rising tide lifts all boats, which is what we were saying, both Shannon Sharp and myself, when we addressed that issue. Why would you say a quote like that? We work for ESPN, so I'm supposed to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the facts? That ain't what we do.
In her absence, the WNBA is struggling to sustain the excitement Clark created and fill the void left by her star power. Her ability to captivate casual fans brought a surge of interest that the league has struggled to replicate. For her part, Caitlin Clark has stayed focused on her game and has consistently performed at an elite level despite the increasing noise and attention surrounding her. As her star continues to rise, it's getting harder to ignore the growing number of detractors for reasons ranging from jealousy to insecurity. Some people inevitably push back against an athlete who seems to have it all, a meteoric rise fan oration and undeniable talent. You're
going to see WNBA playoff viewership down now that Caitlin is out. And is that somewhat factually accurate? Yes. It's not accurate. Viewership numbers with Caitlin Clark are astronomical. She is a big draw. Yeah. She brings in all the things. We know this. We've said.
Despite her enormously beneficial influence on the sport, Clark has had her fair share of detractors and haters. The criticism directed at Caitlin Clark doesn't seem to be based on anything she's actually done wrong. On the contrary, her extraordinary popularity has drawn more attention to women's basketball and helped elevate the entire WNBA. Despite this, Clark has managed to stay focused on her performance while navigating the pressure and criticism with grace as she continues to elevate her game and the sport overall. This is especially frustrating. Instead of getting widespread recognition for these achievements, Clark's outstanding performances and captivating personality have not only attracted new followers, but also spurred new discussions about the sport's future. From some quarters, Clark has encountered mistrust and occasionally downright animosity. This anger seems unwarranted because Clark has only excelled and promoted the game, giving it the attention the league has long craved.
And to imply that we should just ignore the impact that Caitlin Clark had on this team, this league, this sport. Nah, it doesn't work that way.
Although this trend of discrediting accomplished female athletes is not new, it is especially disheartening in the context of women's basketball, a sport that is still vying for respect and mainstream recognition. Caitlin Clark has the potential to be a game-changing figure, much like Michael Jordan or LeBron James were for the NBA. However, instead of supporting her and taking advantage of the momentum she brings, some in the WNBA seem reluctant to fully embrace what Clark represents. This reluctance speaks to deeper insecurities within the sport where groundbreaking success is sometimes met with resistance. On the one hand, Sue Bird has always been an advocate for the WNBA's success and wants the league to flourish whether or not Caitlin Clark is a part of it. Beyond just one standout player, though, it's hard to deny that a large portion of the league's recent success is directly related to Clark's capacity to draw viewers. Buzz Bird's public annoyance with pundits like Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe probably results from a wish to prevent the WNBA from being seen as unduly reliant on Clark.